Alright, so let's review what we learned last module. It's always good to go over things again and again. So I will ask you what each line is, that you have this diagram, this exact diagram, and you can see if you filled it in right. So this one right here, this is the ovary, right? This is the ovary. By the way, I think I forgot to mention last module, the ovaries also, they secrete estrogen. So the female hormones would be in the ovaries. There's other places where we release estrogen too, the adrenal glands. Here, this next line here is the, so it starts with a U, uterus. Okay, this line right here is the bladder. Okay, then this line right here is the urethra. Alright, now we have not learned this one yet, but I want you to pay good attention. Okay, so this right here would be the clitoris, but actually the clitoris is larger than what this picture is showing, and I'll go over that a little bit in a little bit today. You can learn about the clitoris. Okay, so then this line right here is the vagina. Okay, the vagina, so we learned about that. Now this line right here we haven't learned yet, but this would be the labia, I'm going to say it's the labia minora. So we're going to learn about the labia minora. There's like these thin, hairless lips as part of the female anatomy. Now here, this is the labia majora. So then we have big, kind of fleshy lips. They have hair on them unless you take the hair off. And so that's the labia majora. So labia minora, labia majora. And we'll have these terms written out for you in a little bit. Okay, this right here is the anus. Then here is the rectum. Then what's the bottom of the uterus called? It's the cervix. And then this line I didn't put on here, but this is your tailbone. The coccyx, right? That's what it's called. Okay. Alright, so hopefully you have those down. Alright, let's go down to this picture here. So what is this? You should know this one. It starts with an F. The fallopian tubes. And what major thing should you know about the fallopian tubes? You should know that that's where conception takes place. Then here, these are the ovaries, and we learned that this is what houses the eggs, and also it secretes estrogen. Okay, here's the uterus. Okay, here's the uterus. So this is where the baby grows. This is what builds up. That's what creates menstruation. Then we have the fallopian tube over here, and of course we have the ovary here. Then the bottom of the uterus is called the cervix, and then the opening in the cervix is the OS. And then this is the vagina. Yay! Okay. So let's learn something new. Okay, maybe I have to give it to you like this so that I can type in. Okay. So this right here is the clitoral hood. So I always tell my classes, hey, I've got a great costume for you. You could just wear a pink hoodie and say, I am the clitoris, stimulate me. Haha. Okay, well, anyway, let's go to the next one. Okay, so this one here is what I was telling you about. So, hey, we got to learn something. We got to learn this thing called homologous. Okay, so let's learn this term right here, homologous. So what homologous is, I think I did spell it right, even though it's saying that I didn't. What homologous means is it means that the tissue is the same. So we're going to learn what is homologous in males and females. So what do you think is the homologous? So what's so cool? Oh my gosh, this was so cool. Did you guys know that we all start out with the same exact tissue for the first 6 weeks when we're little babies? And then the presence of hormones cause the Wolffian ducts or the Mullerian ducts to differentiate according to what hormones are in our womb. So all of this female anatomy is made of the same tissue as the male anatomy. That's so fascinating to me, because I remember when I was your age, I was trying to figure out sex, and I was thinking that, male sex is so much different than female sex. But then when I learned about this principle of homologous, I was like, oh my goodness, so the tissue is just organized differently. So, okay, let's go to the clitoral hood. What do you think is the male anatomy part that's homologous to the female clitoral hood? It is the foreskin. So, for example, what female circumcision is female circumcision is not just removal of the clitoral hood. You know what, though? I'm kind of fascinated. I hope, you don't think I'm crazy on this. Is how we have all kinds of crazy procedures? I wonder why we don't have a procedure that removes the clitoral hood, so then your clitoris is exposed at all times, and I would think that women would be a little bit more orgasmic, but I don't think there's those procedures. But who knows? Maybe you guys are going to tell me, Amy, you're just out of it. They do have that, but I haven't heard of that. But I will teach you about a labia trim, which is crazy to me. No, I shouldn't say it's crazy to me. It's not crazy to me. Take that back. Okay, so we'll talk about that later. And anyway, this clitoris that they have it drawn so small, that's so crazy. I'm going to show you a fun clitoris. Did you know that the clitoris is actually very large? It's because we only see a little tiny part of it, but the clitoris is probably, I'm going to say 5 or 6 inches. Woo! That's new information, eh? So the clitoris has the same amount of sensory receptors as males. Now, I do need to tell you that I've seen weird stuff about that. According to what I've seen, is they've never actually measured it. So when you see all this, sometimes you'll see things that say, oh, women have twice as many in such a small area. So what you want to think the clitoris of is you're taking it, so the clitoris is small though, right? It's I'm going to say ½ an inch wide, if that, probably a 1/4 inch wide. But since it's homologous to the head of a man's penis, the number of sensory receptors in the head of a man's penis is equivalent to the sensory receptors in the clitoris. And so I tell guys, I'm like, hey, those of you that don't stimulate her clitoris, that's like you having sex without the head of your penis being stimulated. I want you to picture just I have my fingers just rubbing up and down on the shaft. That's what it would be like. Would that be good? I don't think so, right? Okay, so the clitoris is homologous to the male head of his penis, the glands. So we're going to see more about the clitoris. I have such fun stuff to show you in a little bit. So they're homologous, so they believe that the same amount of sensory receptors are on the clitoris, but in a much smaller area. So back to what I've heard, is sometimes I hear that the clitoris has double the amount of sensory receptors as males. And I've seen some research that they've never actually measured, and that where a lot of research studies are getting their information is from a cow clitoris. Look, logically to me, that we know this principle of homologous tissue, logically to me, it would make sense that we have about the same amount of sensory receptors because they're made out of the same tissue. But hopefully what you'll take away from this is that the clitoris is similar to the head of a man's penis there. Okay, so now what about this thing right here? This thing right here would be the labia majora. So what is homologous to the labia majora? It is the scrotum. So when guys say, don't forget the sack, don't forget the sack, how about don't forget the lips, don't forget the lips? So it's kind of sad because a lot of sex where people are uneducated about the male and female anatomy is just penetration alone. But there's so much more going on here that we want to learn about. Yes! Hey, by the way, what percentage of women can achieve orgasm through penetration alone? Ding, 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 ding. It's only 30%. So those of you that are sitting there going, oh, there's something wrong with me, I can't come, I'm faking it all the time. No, that's very normal. 70% of us cannot come from penetration alone. And if more people were educated about this, maybe we would have more orgasms, and that is a goal. We're going to learn all about that later. All right, let's move on to this. All right, here we go. We have the labia minora, okay? So the labia minora would be homologous to like the inner portions of the scrotum. So the labia minora are like fleshy lips that don't have any hair on them, and then the labia majora, they're like thicker lips and they have hair on them. Okay, so let's see, what is this pointing to here? This one, I need you to extend this line. I don't really have the ability to extend this line right here. It would probably take, oh, I can do it. There. How do you like that? Okay, so this line here is actually going to be the vagina. Okay? Alright, so I just don't think it was extended the right amount. It might be confusing to you, but this would be the vagina. Okay, and then here we go. We've got, this is, you know what this is. This is urethra. Okay, and so you say, what is the vagina homologous to in the males? I don't really have something to say that it's homologous to in the males. That got organized different, so I don't have a set structure, but probably a lot of you know already that transsexuals, when they get a sex change operation, they are taking the penis and they're turning it inside out. So maybe you could think of it that way. Maybe. Okay, so then we know, what is this? Oh, you better get this right or else I'm going to cry. What is this? Oh, it's the clitoris. Okay, yay. Alright, let's learn about the clitoris now. I have such a cute little video to show you.